My parents too felt the same, like my brothers never wanted me. And back to the childhood stuff, I there was a trauma that happened when I was in primary three. I had to burn a bush that led to the burnt of the bishop's house.
What? Fredoline, tell us about your childhood.
Okay. As a child, I faced so many difficulties. Like, I was bullied, I was traumatized because at the age of 14, my parents divorced, and it became so hard. I had to like grow up in a single parents home, so it was really, really difficult. But I had to catch up with life. Despite everything I went through as a child, I had to catch up with life.
You talked about being bullied. How was it like?
Okay, I'm a third child of my parents,
Okay.
and I have two elder brothers. So they felt like they were at the top, and anything I do around the place, I was they had to beat me around. At times, my brother had to beat me, push me under the bed. So it was really, really challenging. And around the place, people hated me around. Like they knew I was a kind of bad child. I was too stubborn. Yes, accept. But just at home or in the house, I felt I was not wanted by my brothers. So I felt like I was an outcast. So my parents too felt the same, like my brothers never wanted me. And back to the childhood stuff, I there was a trauma that happened when I was in primary three in Kumbu where I grew up. I had to burn a bush that led to the burnt of the bishop's house.
What?
So from that primary three to where I stopped, I've been sponsored by the Catholic Mission. Like the Catholic Mission, it took me like a child. They sponsored me from primary TV to where I stopped, and I believe that was where my life, when I experienced let me say a good life.
So at what level did you stop?
I stopped in Form 5.
Okay, from 5. Did you write or just...
No.
Okay. Why did you stop?
Let me see. I stopped because I felt like school is not everything.
Okay.
Like I'm going to school, I need to come back, get a job. So I had to like stop there, switch to another thing. But right now I'm really regretting why I did not further my education. Because
So, because...
because education is the key.
So what did you switch into?
Okay. In other words, I'm a fashion designer in male dressing. Yes. That's what I do for a living as of now.
Okay. Okay. So what are some of the childhood fantasies, your dreams you had?
Okay. Growing up as a child, the first dream I had was going through my education, becoming a reverend sister. Because of what happened in my primary TV, I grew up in a convent, not as an orphan, but I had caretakers, reverend sisters who were my caretakers. So I used to admire the way they dress. Like their passion for God was like after 1 hour they are praying, after an hour they are praying. So I felt like that was my dream, that was my calling. But along the line, let me not say the devil, but along the lines, something happened that today I'm a mom, a proud mom for that.
So I want to know, did you get pregnant when you were still living at a convent or after that?
Okay, I got pregnant when I had left the convent, came back home.
So how was it like growing up in a convent?
Okay. Like I said, it was like I had the best time. I felt like that was where I belonged, forgetting about home. As a child, I felt like that's where I'm supposed to be. I'm not supposed to be in the outside world because I had this control. We hardly go out of the house of the convent, but the little time we have to go out, like we were taken care of. Like we leave the convent, we go out in the car, we come back. Like that was the kind of life I wanted to live, a luxurious life. But to no avail. My parents were not that rich. I grew up in a like my parents, they were average. They were average. They were not too rich. They were not too poor. But I felt like that was not where I belonged.
So what happened that you came back home? You left the convent and went back.
Okay, there's a certain age that you're supposed to stay in a convent. And when I had reached that age, I had to go back home.
What age is that?
I don't know of now, but I left the convent when I was 15 years.
Okay. Is that the same year you got pregnant?
No. Actually, I left the convent when I was 15 years of age. And when I left the convent, I went back home. I felt very bad. Like living, I believed the convent was my home. But due to my age, I could not stay there. Due to the kind of things I had learned in school, I could not longer, the convent could no longer accommodate me. So when I got back home, I had to go to this school, GBHS Kumbu, where I had to like start a new life, getting new friends. And the kind of friends I had, they had to influence me. Like the kind of life I was living in the convent and the kind of life I had to live in the outside world were two different lives. Yeah. That could not merge together. So that could not be merged together. My prayer life had to drop. And I started doing some kind of things. Like sneaking out of the house at night, going to a bar or going to a club. And I had to indulge in some things that I'm really struggling right now to let go of.
What things? So how did your parents take it when you were to leave home and go stay at the convent?
Okay, I don't know how they felt, but I discovered that my parents were not actually happy because I was I was their favorite child. Let me see so. I was their favorite daughter. And they felt very bad because every week my mom would come around the house, the convent, and ask how I was doing. She knew the kind of things I loved. She would bring them. So it was a tough one.
So because of the fire that you let that burnt down the bishop's house, that was the only reason they came and took you from your parents?
Yeah.
So why do you think they had to take you from your parents?
Okay. Like, I really do believe in the scriptures or in the word of God. I believe that when one door closes, another opens. I just believe that that was God has sent forth my destiny helper. Because at that particular point, when the incident happened, my parents were really broke. Even to feed was so hard, but we could not stay or we could not sleep without eating. But it was so hard. And at that particular point in time, when the incident happened, they came around our house. They looked at the condition that we were living in. they discovered that these people cannot even get a machine. One of the machines that got burned, like a whole carpentry workshop got burned. So when they discovered that we could not afford one, they did so many videos, pictures. They took pictures of me, my parents. They had to send them over to Rome. And when they looked at the condition that we were living in, they just had to take me like, let me say, a suffer child. And they brought me up. So I still believe that was my destiny helper.
You said you had a child.
Yeah.
Is she a girl or a boy?
A boy child.
What's his name?
Destiny.
How old?
5.
Wow. So what happened?
It's kind of complicated, but this is the kind of life I was living at that particular time. Let me see, my friends, parents, neighbors, they were all expecting something worse than that to happen. Yeah, I met this guy. We started something little, and it went big, or it got big. Right to the level that I had to conceive a child. When I conceived that child, it was a blessing to the both of us. Like, we had open doors. But there became a time that he told me, by then I had to switch from school to learn a trade. By then he told me he never wanted his woman to like suffer because he had the money. He's a camion driver. He had the money to take care of me. But I felt like, I looked at the way we grew up. My mother was a trader. But before becoming a trader, it took her some years to start living a balanced life because she was always depending on my father's salary. So there became a time that CVC and their wahala. My father's salary was no longer like enough to take care of us. It became problems. Like to feed was very difficult. So she started a trade that had to grow and finally successful. I looked at the way my mother was depending. I felt like I'm not kind of a lady that I want to depend on a man, because I have never depended on a man. I insisted I was going to continue with the work I was learning. So I actually learned the work, the trade, and graduated. But along the line, he told me like he never wanted his woman to suffer. I was like, is this guy normal? Is he really trying? Does he really love me like he claims? But I felt like because of my little brain, I had the passion to do a trade, to learn a trade. I said, whatever, let me just learn the trade for future sake. So I stubbornly continued with the work. He felt like I had disobeyed him. Along the line, I was pregnant. I was 4 months pregnant when I was abandoned by the same man who wanted me to stop that trade. But God's so kind. When he abandoned me with the 4 months pregnancy, the little work I knew, had to put food on my table, had to buy clothes for the child. I had to raise money to start up my clinic.
How old were you?
I was 19 to 20 years.
So you were not living with your parents?
I was living with my parents. But the issue is, my mother felt like I had disgraced her. She wasn't expecting that from me. It was actually tough. I felt rejected. There was a statement my mother used when I was 6 months pregnant. She told me, I was going to give birth and wrap that child on leaves, in leaves of plantain. I felt very bad, and that statement or those words of hers pushed me to work harder. I never wanted to be disgraced. I'm not kind of a girl that I feel very big when it concerns work. I felt like I never wanted my child to be disgraced or me in particular to be disgraced. So I had to work hard, and still when I was struggling to walk, I was like hoping that one day he might come, the man might come, go down on his knees. Like, you know that we women, we love to nag. We love when we are on the right and the man accepts he's on the wrong, that kind of a thing. I just felt like maybe one day he'll come, go down on his knees and beg. But I was disappointed. Man, if there is one thing a man values so much, it's his ego. He had this pride in him, like he could not come, go down on his knees because of a child, that kind of a thing. I felt very bad. I waited for him for 2 good years, but to no avail. It's the 3rd year coming back, he was married. I was heartbroken, but still I had to let go, because I believed that what is mine, it's mine. And as a single parent, I've understood so many things about life. I came to understand I was living a confused life when I had that child, when all of my friends were nowhere to be found. Like they said, look at that one. He's no carry by the mommy hands. I ain't that on board. But that encouraged me to work so hard.
So what are the childhood lessons that you've learned today that you're applying in life?
Okay, the first lesson I've learned is like I would not want to train my child the way I was trained. Even though my child is not living with me. But I believe that we're living in the 21st century where the world now it's a kind of Android stuff. Yeah. The things you say you don't want your child to know, they're all about social media. Even if you don't want to tell the child about it, the child might go to the social media, get it from there. But I believe that if my parents were like protecting me like they did, they protected me like, yeah. But there's one thing my parents failed to do. My mother in particular, she protected me, but there were some little things that she never told me about life. That when she started telling me I was already pregnant, she forgot to educate me on sex. It's very important for a girl child. And again, forgot to educate me about my menstrual cycle, or telling me about the kind of things that might happen along the line. What about relationship stuffs? When I came out from the convent, I was too dormant. I saw everything as pleasure. I went into it body and soul, forgetting to step one foot behind. So, yeah. And again, parents should always make sure there's unity in the family. Like brother hating sister and sister is trying to complain, mama is trying to cover up sister or cover up in brother, or one parent is at the side of the another child. It's not good. I face that, and I will not want my child or my children to go through the same thing. Right now, I'm struggling to live a balanced life, and I don't want my child to struggle to live a balanced life. But I want my child to live a balanced life, not struggling to live, but rather perfecting it.
So how often do you get to see your child?
Okay. As of now, I'm not seeing him for more than 6 months. But I mean physically, but normally I do video calls with him. I talk to him on phone. We do video calls. Okay, the first time I had sex was on the 1st May, like on a Labor Day. That was the worst thing that happened in my life. Like, yeah, the worst thing that's ever happened to me. Like, I've had friends who come around, like, the first day I had sex. Girl, it was this, it was that. But I've never talked to someone about the first day I had sex. I've never told anyone. Because that was a nightmare for me. Because normally, the first day I had sex, I had so many changes. Right to the point I felt I was pregnant. But I had a protected sex. But I still felt I was pregnant. Because those changes within me were so horrible. Like, in the twinkle of an eye, this is happening, that is happening. My mentality begins to change. But young girls, come to think of it, what if you're into your first time of having sex, you discover that you have been infected, and along the line you're struggling like to treat yourself, telling your partner this is what's happening, your partner doesn't want to believe. What will you do? Thank God I had a father who was so intelligent that he discovered it before I could even think of it. He had to fast forward my treatment. Like, girls be warned, because not every man you see out there is a man. It's not an STD. Oh, sorry, it's not HIV. It's an STD. Or let me say. So, at a point where you cannot even accumulate yourself, the smell, you bathe after minute after minute, or you have to nap second after second because you claim you're in love. My dear, that's infatuation. That's not love. I had to like suffer for it, or suffer with it for a long time. But thank God for my dad who discovered I had to, like I said, fast forward my treatment. I was treated. I'm not gonna forget that growing up, I said, even though I wanted to become a reverend sister, I wanted as well, if I don't become a reverend sister, I will only have to get into sex when I am married. My dear, I was wrong. Very, very wrong about the whole thing. Because of the kind of friends I kept, the kind of people that were around me, the kind of environment I was surrounded by.
So how do people see you?
Okay, where I'm coming from, right? Or where I left, Kumbu. Like, for the past 6 years, people have been seeing me as a very bad child. But do you know, I'm not kind of a person that I don't care what people say about me. What I think about myself or what I do, I'm just okay with what I do. Even though my friends came around my place, they told me like, okay, we're 6 of us will contribute 5,000, and at the end of the day, your abortion was successful. I looked at them and laughed and told them that at my age, why should I be aborting a child? There is no need. Let me bring forth the child. Even if I cannot take care of the child, I have parents. That was my mentality. Like, even if I bring forth the child, I'm not able to take care of. My parents will do. Let them do it. They eat their own way. But thank God I had a mom. Thank God I had a dad. Even though they live in 2 different worlds, but they have impacted me with so much that I can explain or can express that all that matters to me right now.
How do you want people to see you?
Okay, what I would love people to see about me is seeing the Fredoline they see every day, knowing the good and the bad of a young lady, and coming to understand that because I've lived a bad life, it doesn't mean I'm bad. It's just a matter of time that can still be reversed very early.
You're still young.
Yeah, I'm still very young.
Yeah.
Very, very young. I want my life to be a transparent mirror, or let me say a light, that when youths, adults, parents, the old, and the teenage, when they look into, they see a light. I don't know how I'm going to make it, but I just believe because I'm struggling to live a balanced life, one day I'll balance it, and definitely they will see that light.
What does the future hold for you?
Okay, I'm into fashion designing. Yeah. I just want to go back to school because I believe education is the key to success. I want to improve on some things. I have this plan of like maybe in 10 years to come, I would like build a fashion designing school. Yeah, where I would train mostly the single parents, because out right now they feel like they are not wanted in the society. They're not supposed to, they don't even have the right to speak in the society. But I want to tell you, you're wrong. Your mentality is very wrong. The fact that you're a single parent, it doesn't mean that you cannot speak for yourself. The fact that you've made a mistake, it doesn't mean that you'll keep doing mistakes. You'll keep making mistakes. The fact that it happened, that was a guardian. It has just come so that you can learn how to live life in the future. So becoming a parent or becoming a single parent should not weigh you down. The name single parents would not or should not weigh you down, because I, for one, have not been weighed down. But rather, every day when I think of my son, when I think of his well-being, I am like, I need to hustle hard. I need to make it in life so that that child will not feel like he's not wanted in the society. Because most of those children, they feel like I'm not wanted. They are not wanted. But rather, we don't know who would help you tomorrow. They want to feel they are being given birth to on a matrimonial bed. You discover day after day that they're the ones going wayward, and those ones that are being brought up in a very broke home or in a single mother's home, you discover that they're the brilliant ones. So what I have to tell someone out there is just to have hopes. I'm a kind of positive being. Negativity has no place in my life. But at times, I don't actually forget about the negativity. The reason why I think about it is because normally, and it's a fact that they will always come. And when the negative sides comes, I will not like panic. I will not be a slave to fear, but rather fear will be a slave to me.